Pastafina.com, Pizza Cafe, 3rd Avenue between 44th and 45th Street. This place, though it was terrible, was not without its charms. To start, it is called Pastafina.com. You know what that makes me think of? Trick Daddy, the name of whose second record, www.thug.com, is also the name of his website. The other charming occurrence involved my interaction with the two employees. I walked up to the counter and ordered a regular slice. There were two guys back there, and one put my slice in while the other just looked at me. Then he was all, "You speak Spanish?" And there was something in his voice that made me look at him quizzically and say, "No," instead of shrugging my shoulders, making a pinching gesture and saying, "Un poquito," like I usually do. And it paid off, because no sooner had I finished saying "no habla español" in Inglés, the guy putting my pizza in the oven turned to me, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "Chinga tu madre." Well, I looked wide-eyed, and I said, "Well, whatever does that mean?" And his buddy goes, "He says enjoy your slice. That'll be $2.50. Those guys were sassy, and I liked that. But Pastafina.com still had shitty pizza. Where do I begin? This slice was the pits. It tasted horrible. I think, aside from wanting me to fuck my mother, these dudes were also trying to poison me. As soon as I got to the table, Jessie Jane said, I don't like slices that look like that. And Becca said, "It smells like Chef Boyardee." I folded it up and was ready to accept it with arms wide open until I took my first bite. Yowza. This was horrible pizza. It tasted like rotting sour things. Dead things. There was something otherworldly about it. And not in that way where, like, sometimes my little weird friends are aloof and effervescent and they just seem to flit about on the breeze and bring magic feelings and good vibes everywhere they go, and I'll be like, "David is so otherworldly." No, this is otherworldly, like from a Sandman comic, where it means it came from hell. At a certain point, we started mushing the folded slice with our fingers, and the cheese was bubbling out, and it looked like something from a David Cronenberg movie. It was so sick. Sick like shitting out of your mouth, not sick like jumping out of a hot air balloon on a snowboard. After we were done mushing the pizza around, I opened it up, and the most horrifying smell wafted up. It was seriously one of the worst smells I've ever been exposed to in my life, and I have been waist deep in garbage more times than I can recall. Anyway, while we did ultimately almost finish this horrible thing out of masochism and curiosity, it was really hands down one of the worst slices I've ever had in my life. Yuck. I'm going to skip towards the end because I'm getting tired of reading. No, there's no good slices. The good slices reviews, they're not fun. There's nothing funny about a good slice. It's fucking delicious. Like, hey, fucking this pizza place, Tony's Pizza Parlor, the slice was great, it was delicious, it was crunchy, the cheese was good, and the sauce was good, and there was elasticity, and I'm really satisfied. I don't want to read that out loud. Okay. 99-cent fresh pizza Villa Cafe, 360 West 42nd Street between 8th and 9th Avenues. You know when your Oogle friends come to town and get you so wasted, and then you end up trying to fight one of your best friends, and then you wake up at noon still totally shit-faced, and you're all, oh, fuck, and you just can't seem to get it together, and it seems like your life is always going to be this bad, like the first time you ate mushrooms when you were 14, and at some point you realized you are just going to be tripping forever, and everything is totally fucked, and your parents are going to be so mad, and it was all a fucking bloody trap, and you fell for it again like a sucker, and fuck! Now you're stuck like this, and how are you supposed to go to school ever again, or like talk to your parents ever again, and I guess you're just going to have to run away and live under a bridge because you're not fit for this world, and you're too much of a coward to just off yourself, so like, I guess it's just going to be a life of a miserable outcast for me. You know what I'm talking about? And it's an important experience because you learn that actually you do stop tripping eventually. And when you're done with that harrowing experience, you briefly have a newfound clarity, and you are now equipped with the knowledge that horrible, seemingly endless shit is actually finite. And you forget that it's true. So 8 years later, when your heart breaks for real for the first time, and you're sitting on 2nd Avenue with your best friend crying, and you think your pain will never end, and it's bigger than any pain anyone's ever felt, and you'll never be whole again. And then you come out of that tunnel, and you've got that new clarity again. And you learn to safeguard and protect your heart so that it won't be so vulnerable. And you build an impenetrable fortress around it so you'll never have to feel that bad. And you don't let anyone in there who can hurt you like that. And then people you care dearly for start dying, and they're like spies who permeated your defenses because you were only on the lookout for people trying to besiege your heart with romantic love, and all of a sudden, your fortifications are all fucked up all over again, and that's when you remember that thing you learned that first time you ate mushrooms when you were 14, and you totally hid it from your parents so well, and you snuck downstairs to play Return to Zork on the computer because you thought it would look so cool, but instead you ended up going out and just laying in the grass all night looking at the sky. And then the sun started coming up, and you had to run upstairs and hide before your folks woke up, and you were in your room tripping, and you couldn't leave because they'd know. Just like the cat knew when she saw you, and it's never going to end, it's never going to end. And you're laying in bed, freaking out, and the next thing you know, you're waking up in your room a few hours later, and everything just makes sense. The message you ultimately learn from this cycle of death and heartbreak and psychedelia is dual. Bifurcated like the tongue of the lizard guy from Burning Man. The teachings of the great Pizzaiolo call this the bifurcated tongue of wisdom, and it is one of the 8 slices of enlightenment that make up the pie of transcendence. The first and most important lesson is that experiencing the joy of love is worth the pain of loss. Whether we are talking about people you fuck, who you decide you don't love anymore, or vice versa, realizing you don't love someone who still loves you hurts in its own way, or people who you care immensely for in a platonic way, it is worth it to feel that intense caring and feel that intense yearning when they are gone. To understand the parameters and depths of our emotions. Open yourself up to the chance of being hurt, don't be a coward, fear is the mind killer, blah, 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 blah. The second lesson is that sometimes you get so fucked up you think it's never going to end, and you're stuck like that, but it doesn't, and you're not. Quit being a baby and just enjoy yourself. The more comfortable you are, the quicker it'll go, like that horrifying Batman ride at Six Flags where your feet hang out. It's supposed to be fun, but it actually sucks, and it's scary, and it seems like it takes forever, but actually it doesn't, and besides, you're strapped in, so you don't really have a choice. Regardless, I was in the early stages of this cycle a couple of afternoons ago when I went to eat pizza with longtime Slice Harvester co-conspirator Caroline Paquita. Hey girl. She's somewhere here. And I lost my space. And her wonderful sister Leah. Leah is a true American weirdo, just like the rest of us, so she's pretty easy to get along with. As usual, when I pizza eat with people from Florida, it was raining pretty terribly when we got out of the train in Manhattan, with the stated goal of eating the remaining slices of pizza above 42nd Street. Our first stop was, according to the phone book listing, called Grandma Pizza, but instead turned out to be one of the many 99-cent fresh locations in this neighborhood. This is the most extravagant 99-cent fresh location I've ever seen. There was so much seating. It was really spacious. And when we got there, they were totally sold out of pizza and I had to wait to get my slice. When it finally came out, Caroline looked at it skeptically, but since I was feeling less than human, it felt only appropriate that I eat less than pizza. As opposed to the place I'm about to read about, where I was feeling more human than human when I ate that one. This slice was not good at all and was totally perfect for my hangover. The dough was billowing and thick like the smoke from a factory. There was barely any sauce or cheese, and what there was didn't taste especially good. Leah said it reminded her of carnival pizza with a dash of cafeteria, and I think that's a fairly apt assessment. Caroline hastened to add that it tasted like this slice definitely contained HFCS, by which she meant high fructose corn syrup, although in my notes I accidentally wrote, C says it's got some NYHC in it. This slice is fine for $1. Not great, not hard. Definitely different than my previous 99-cent fresh experiences, which reminds me that I'm correct in visiting every store in the 99-cent fresh empire. This is the last one I'm going to read. It's called Hell's Kitchen Pizza. It's at 691 10th Avenue between 47th and 48th Streets, although I hope none of you ever have the misfortune of going in there and eating a slice. Hell's Kitchen Pizzeria looks like it was opened and decorated by Rob Zombie in 1998. It is really and truly the corniest place I have ever seen. It rides the line between being a corny metal pizza shop and being a corny rockabilly pizza shop. Whoever opened this place really loves Betty Page bondage photography. While I think it's hella corny at this point in my life, I found that corniness really charming, and if I was a kid or maybe even a teenager, I would totally love the aesthetic. Then again, I genuinely liked the Stray Cats and the Electric Hellfire Club when I was in high school, so there's that. What's my point in a nutshell? This place seems corny, but in a way I totally loved and made me feel good. I mean, fuck, they were listening to a live Springsteen album. Sadly, this pizza is the worst pizza I've ever had in my entire life. It was so bad that after I took my first bite, I felt like I was going to puke. Caroline took a bite, gagged, spit it into a napkin, and said, I eat out of the trash pretty regularly, and I don't have this problem. Leah seemed to have a sort of zen-like attitude about the slice, and I'm not quite sure what made her impervious to how disgusting it was, but she was unfazed. When we left, about a block away, I totally hurled. It was pretty fun, and reminded me of being young and being a total scum. I was standing between two luxury cars barfing, and all these mothers pushing their children in strollers were taking a wide berth around me. Caroline and Leo were across the street digging antique nails out of a garbage can. And when I walked over to join them, I noticed that an entire family of birds had alighted into my vom puddle, and a mother bird was feeding a kid bird little bits of my puke. Ah, the circle of life. Later that day, I was in a McDonald's reading a book and killing some time because it was raining and cold and I couldn't sit in the park. And an older gentleman, wearing an NYPD baseball cap, forest green sweatpants, and no shirt, was standing in the doorway, blocking everyone trying to walk in, screaming, "Can anyone tell me where the United States of America are?" And also screaming, "I work for the city!" But when we made eye contact, instead of antagonizing me, he just looked at me knowingly and smiled. And that's that. Thank you very much for coming. Like I said, visit Cha-Cha at the merch table. We got these at affordable rates. She drives a hard bargain, but if you're willing to barter, you don't have the $3 it costs because you're a broke cheapskate, then I'm sure you try and work something out if you're lucky. Loser. All right, I'm done. Thanks, guys. Bye. Thanks to the City Reliquary so much.
That's the Slice Harvester. We have more pizza coming. We have more beer for sale. If you had a good time tonight and you don't get our emails, please send our email book out the front. My name is Matt. I'm the Vice President. And let the pizza party continue. Thanks for coming.